Yes, hi guys. Greetings after the day. Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me well and hope you guys are all doing well. We'll be starting in just a minute as soon as everybody's here. Yes, hi guys. Greetings of the day. Hope you guys can hear me well. My name is Arvind Suryadev. I'm here with Learnsignal to do a pre-scene analysis of the new SBL pre-scene material. Yeah. So first of all, best of luck for your SBL exams. Hope you guys are at the top of studying right now. Right. I hope you have covered all the topics that are most important, and we'll be discussing the pre-scene. So hopefully this will help you gear up for the exam more. Yeah. So with that, let's get into it. Let's see what we'll be looking at today. Yeah. Now, first off, before we get started, right, there are certain things that you should know. And when you do go through the pre-scene material yourself, try to follow the contents page, try to make section-wise notes for each of these sections. As you can see, there are 5 sections. Yeah, there is a simple introduction to the premises. Then there is the sector information, the industry information. There is the company overview. There is a slight extract or small extract from the company's website. And then finally, financial and non-financial information. There is a set of financial and non-financial information. So when you're making notes, please try to make section-wise notes. Yeah. Now, more on that later, but let's get into it. Right. So first off, before we talk about the pre-scene material itself, let's talk about certain key things that you definitely should know. Right. Do not go into the SBL exam without knowing these things. Now, what am I talking about? Number one thing, the agency theory. I hope you guys know this. Basic idea behind the agency theory is that if you own a business, yeah, for example, you buy shares of a company, you won't be running the business. The directors of the business would be running the company. Yeah. This is basic idea, right, behind the agency theory. So what's the problem then? The problem is that the agents would act on their own accord. Yeah. So the directors may do whatever they feel like doing, because why not? They have access to so much money. Whereas the owners, the principals, the shareholders, yeah, will face the brunt of this. Depending on how the business goes, your share value either goes up or goes down. So this agency theory is quite important here. Examines the relationship between principals, example shareholders, and agents, example managers, and how conflicts of interest can come up, yeah, and how this can be resolved, right, is what we talk about in SBL. Then stakeholder theory is also very important. The different stakeholders. A stakeholder is simply, right, somebody who has interest in your business. It could be somebody who's going to be a potential customer, who's already a customer. It could be somebody from the general public, or it could be somebody as important as your major shareholder or all your directors. So consider the interests, yeah, of various stakeholders, including shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, and the community. Well, that's internal and external. Yeah. So by community, we mean, right, your employees who are internal to you, suppliers and customers who are connected to you, right? And there could be external stakeholders like, well, the government and such, or the general public. Now, anyway, moving on from there, other things that you should most definitely know. when you write your SBL exam. Key areas: corporate social responsibility, CSR. Yeah. CSR has been recently a marketing initiative for a lot of companies, but yes, that is what CSR could be. Now, the concept that businesses have a responsibility to operate in a manner that benefits the society. Basically, the business is also a social or a citizen of the society. That's the idea. So you have to give back to the society as a business, and that's corporate social responsibility. So make sure you know these basic things. Then, moving on from there, yeah, your professional skills mark areas, right? Quite important. There are 5 professional skills. As you know, 20 marks are allocated to this in your SBL exam. So be good at analysis, right? Be good at communication, commercial acumen, evaluation, and skepticism. Now, to talk a bit about this, analysis means being able to decipher ideas or patterns, yeah, from given information, right? Analyzing the given information to come up with conclusions, or to come up with, well, what you find to uh, make your observations, yeah, more clear and more precise, or yeah, more pointing out things that you find out from the information. Analysis, yeah. Communication, on the other hand, would be presenting information in a neat format, or being able to communicate what you really want to communicate. So no beating around the bush, no being vague about things, being direct and being reasonable, or having reasons regarding why you have, yeah, a certain opinion, right? So proper communication, very important. Then commercial acumen. Well, knowing how the world works, you could say, or knowing the greater factors that may affect a business, the greater factors that may be relevant in a scenario, knowing how things work. Yeah, commercial acumen, right? Then evaluation, on the other hand, very close to analysis, but evaluation goes a step ahead or a step further. The idea is that you have to evaluate between different situations, possibly different opinions or different prospects or different ways forward. Then you will have to sometimes make a recommendation. Watch out for that in the question. Otherwise, you will have to talk about, well, the different situations or scenarios in the given question itself. But skepticism, yeah, another professional skill. Skepticism is having the questioning mind. Yeah, never take things for face value, always question things. That's the idea behind skepticism. Professional skepticism is very important. Students who have done audit and assurance would know about this. Yeah, for those of you who don't, well, please look into this. You're going to write SBL, it's quite important here also. Yeah. Now, moving on from there, there are some formats that we will talk about. Once again, before we jump into the pre-seen material itself, let's talk about certain basic stuff that you guys need to know. Yeah. Now, when you write a report, right, please make sure that you follow an ideal format. This is an ideal format. So include all sections, not just the to or from header. Yeah, most students do this. They know that, oh, it's a report, so I have to have a to address, I have to have a from address, maybe a subject heading. Yeah, and then they forget that, well, they're writing a report. They just write it like any other answer. Don't do that. Make it like a report, right? So start with an introduction. Of course, start with to, from, your subject header, name of the report, all of that. Then start with your introduction. Talk about what this report is going to talk about. Yeah, setting out the reason for writing the report and its main aims. Usually a copy of, or better still, a paraphrasing of the requirement. Absolutely. To write your introduction, you don't need to go looking anywhere. You don't need to think for too long, right? Just look at the question. Just look at the requirement. Rewrite the requirement in a sort of way that it says that, hey, this report is about, yeah, talking about these things. Yeah. Then the main body, 2 or 3 being made the main content of the report, right? Each with an appropriate heading. So in the main body, you would ideally have 2 to 3 structured paragraphs. Now, it's not just about squeezing in words there, or, filling up a page or something like that. Please do not ramble. Yeah. SBL is a subject that you can keep rambling, sure, but that's not the idea here. So try to include proper analysis or evaluation for each of the points that were there in the main content. Yeah, or that should be there in the main content of your report, depending on the given scenario. Yeah. Then you can use subheadings also. That will, yes, make your communication skills or give you more marks when it comes to communication and ultimately presentation of your answer. Yeah. Now, concluding comments or recommendations. This is how you should, well, finish off a report. Summary of findings with recommendations for further actions, especially if asked for. Otherwise, recommendations are not required. You can always make a recommendation, but not required. Why waste your time on it? Yeah. So most students tend to think that every question is about making a recommendation. Well, it's not. Only if it's asked for from you, yeah, to put out a recommendation, sure. Otherwise, please don't. Yeah. Rather do an evaluation or an analysis of the situation, depending on what is asked for. Yeah. Now, moving on from there. Presenting answers, well, sometimes you may be asked to do slides or notes, right? So if you're asked for slides, for example, a director may have to present something in a meeting, and you would be asked to prepare slides as somebody who works in the, well, in the management of the company. Now, a slides format would be something like this. A slide header would be there, essentially the heading of the slide. Then there will be bullet points. Do not write big paragraphs. Write bullet points. You can have notes to the slides. That's where all your other information would come up. Because if you're itching to write a lot about the answer because you know a lot about it, well, that should come up in the notes, not in the slides. Because in real life, guys, when you prepare slides, you don't want to write a whole paragraph, or you don't want to leave a textbook page over there, right? Same idea. Yeah. So in the notes section, notes page, yeah, you can mention what notes this is. You can have some kind of a marker to, well, link it back to your slides if this is being, yes, made along with the slides, which usually it is, right? So explanation or reasoning for the slide. Remember what I told you, all the narrative that you couldn't put down on your slide, you can put down here. Explanation of the first bullet point, explanation of the second bullet point, and then the third and maybe the fourth, but don't have too many bullet points there. At the end of the day, you're talking about a slide that would be presented hypothetically, but still, yeah, make sure you follow a slide like format, right? Now, moving on from there, yeah. Presenting answers. Well, if you have emails to do, yeah, set the correct tone based on the recipient. Yeah, depending on who you're writing to, you may want to have a corporate tone, right? Whenever you write the SBL exam also, it's important to know that diplomatic language that you use when it comes to writing answers in SBL. So try to work on that. Try to have, it's not about language sophistication, it's rather about being clear, yeah, and being right to the point and easily understandable language. That's what would be recommended. But make sure you do follow formats, and presentation and communication wise, things are top notch, right? So for an email, there will be a to address, there will be a from address, a date, a subject, well, dear whoever, right? And then at the end, you have your body. This is just like any other letter. Come on, we've all been writing emails for a while, so you guys know how that works. Finally, you can have whatever, yes, sincerely, and then whatever is your title, you can mention that. This would be given in the exam, so watch out for that. It may mention that you're Mr. XYZ, somebody in the business. Yeah, so you can use that here, right? Now, moving on from there. Presenting answers, letters. If you have letters to write, usually always a formal tone with letters, of course. So we're not talking about informal letters here. This is not an English exam. This is, well, SBL. Yeah. So what will you put down in your letter? Well, the center name or organization, center address, date sent usually comes up on the right topmost end, yeah, of the letter body. Then the recipient name or organization, recipient address, yeah, and you can have once again a dear, title, whatever. The subject of the letter is what makes it a formal letter, you could say. Whenever you write a formal letter, a subject comes up right after you say dear sir or dear somebody. Yeah. Then sincerely, you can put your name according to what was given in the exam, not your actual name, obviously. Yeah. Then moving on from there, sometimes you may see press releases also, not common, but sometimes, yes, sure, why not? So press releases usually, right, are to inform stakeholders. Now, the whole idea of a press release is that it should be factual and it should be concise. Remember, this is something like the slides that you were making earlier. So a press release date, yeah, would be mentioned. Press release for the release date or time, yeah. Short factual paragraphs, keep it as short as possible, keep it as, well, interesting as possible, right? And then you will have the ending where you can mention for more information, press only, yeah. PR contact name, phone number, and or email. You can make up, yes, fictitious details for that bit, right? Or you may be given details in the question, you can follow that. But this is the general format that you would follow for a press release. Now, moving on from there, a project initiation document could also come up. Now, I hope you guys know what a project initiation document is. It's a part of your, yes, SBL studies. In a project initiation document, what you see would be, well, the first or the initial document of a project. It talks about everything that a project is supposed to achieve, what it requires. Yeah, a lot of details, right, about a project that the company wants to take up or the company has taken up. That's why it's called the PID, Project Initiation Document. Now, this should include several sections. Please remember that. This is actually part of your studies, so you have to know this. It's not just about knowing a format of, how to write a letter or how to write a mail. This is actually relevant stuff. So project goals, the scope of your project, the project organization, who all are involved, yeah, what levels of the business are involved, then the business case, what is it going to do, right? What is this project all about? What is the business model? Why do we need this? Yeah. Constraints. What could be blocking the performance, or what could possibly be blocking the performance of this project? Stakeholders, yeah, who would be interested, who would be affected, and such things. The risks, of course, doing anything in a business, yeah, is risky. Yeah. So the risks of doing a project should be mentioned here within the project initiation document. Then the controls that are in place to avoid these risks. For example, if you're talking about, well, heavy construction, yeah, like building a flyover or building a big highway, there are a lot of safety risks, right? So obviously your people would be given safety training, and you will be given, yeah, they'll be given safety equipment and whatnot. That's a project control. Similarly, depending on what project we are talking about, there may be multiple risks. You can involve certain controls. This may be given to you in the question, yeah, because controls, otherwise you may have to come up with a few, but they're quite straightforward. But make sure you keep this in mind, that project controls are also a part of the project initiation document. Then reporting frameworks that would be followed. There is a sign off of the project initiation document, usually by the project manager, and then there is a summary. Yeah. So a summary is, well, a conclusion. I wouldn't say conclusion, it's just a summary of everything that, well, the project initiation document talked about. Yeah. Now, moving on from there, yes, these are the usual formats. Those were the usual formats of things that you would see. So please keep that in mind. Now, moving on from there, another important topic that you're supposed to know, not just for the SBL exam, but as well, a ACCA affiliate or an ACCA student or prospective ACCA member, you're supposed to know this. Integrity, yeah, the code of ethics, 5 principles, 5 fundamental principles. There's integrity. Integrity is effectively honesty, right? You have to be honest, act with integrity. Yeah. Then objectivity, being unbiased, being uninfluenced by something. Yeah. Especially things like self-interest should not take, yeah, should not take the first place. You should be objective, not subjective. So objectivity is important. Confidentiality, being able to keep secrets. Yeah. In the sense that you're not somebody who would simply divulge information, yeah, to, well, divulge sensitive information that you may have access to in venues where you shouldn't be divulging it, right? So confidentiality is being able to keep secrets, in simple words. But of course, if there is something illegal going on, or if there is a requirement, a legal requirement for you to break confidentiality, you will have to do that. Yeah. Now, moving on from there, there are two more, yes, fundamental principles. Professional behavior. Now, professional behavior talks about, well, behaving professionally, obviously, and not bringing any kind of, yes, insult or bad name. Right now, no bad reputation should be brought to the fraternity, to the ACCA fraternity. That's the idea. So behave professionally, especially in your professional dealings. Yeah. And finally, professional competence and due care. Now, professional competence is all about, well, having the skill to take up a job. Yeah. If you take up a job, you should have the skill required for it, the skill set required for it. If you don't, well, don't take up a job. Because if you went to a doctor, now imagine your doctor was not competent, would you be okay with it? Well, no, that's professional competence right there. Similarly, the accountant's job, or anybody who's doing anything related to ACCA, should know that whatever job they take up, they have the skills for this. Yeah. Professional competence. So you have to say, you have to stay competent. Yeah. You have to stay sharp. This is why we have things like CPD, continual professional development, right? You do this to, well, stay sharp. And then, of course, due care is also there, as you guys may have seen. Professional competence and due care. Some people call it due diligence. At the end of the day, it's about being extra cautious. No matter what you do in accounting and finance, be super, super cautious, right? Now, these are the 5 fundamental principles. Most definitely important knowledge. There is no way you can write the SBL exam or any of the P-level papers without knowing these things. Yeah. Moving on from there. Now, once again, before we jump into the material of the pre-seen material, let's talk about how the exam is. Now, this used to be a 4-hour exam, as some of you may know. This has been made a 3-hour 15 exam. So that is about 195 minutes in total. Yeah, that is exactly 195 minutes in total. And the total marks, well, 100 marks split between 80 marks for your technical stuff, right? And professional marks of 20. Now, the time plan that you should be making up, or the way you should be approaching this, because at the end of the day, SBL is a paper where you can write a lot. So don't get lost in that. Yeah, try to have, right, even when you're practicing right now, try to time yourself. So make sure you have, well, a clock running at the back of your mind, right? So time allocated for 80 technical marks, take it as 2 minutes per mark. That would be 160 minutes, right? And then the remaining time, professional marks don't involve, well, any time as such, because you don't have to write any answer for professional marks. It's just about laying out your answer properly, right? So professional marks within writing style, well, no time allotted for this, for the 20 marks. So write in a certain way so that you can save time for those 20 marks, of course, and then use that for your main 80 marks. Now, if you guys notice, that's not the full time available, right? 195 minutes are available. We just talked about using 160 minutes. The remaining 35 minutes should be divided into two parts, and you guys can check it out. 20 minutes would be initially for reading 6 questions. Yeah, I think my dialog box or my video dialog box may be covering that bit, right? But anyway, I can read it from here. So 20 minutes initially for reading the 6 questions and highlighting points from exhibits. 15 minutes at the end for an overall review and wrap up of your answer sheet, right? Or of your answers. So yes, try to aim for that. Of course, there will be some spillovers here and there. You may not be able to finish in 160 minutes. You may go 165, sometimes even 170. Allocate time accordingly with the remaining areas also. For example, when you're initially reading the questions, don't spend too long. Yeah, try to go as fast as possible, right? Try to make notes in your mind only regarding certain things. Hey, this thing might come up in the answer later. So try to do that so that you don't have to keep reading and reading the question again. Because as you know, SBL has a lot of information that you have to go through, right? Moving on, time plan, the golden rule. 10 technical marks means 5 good points that you should write. Yeah. Because ideally a point would carry 2 marks. So write 5 good points, you should get your 10 technical marks. Then spend 20 minutes writing this, not more than that. This again goes back to the same metric that we were talking about, 2 marks per minute. Yeah. Moving on from that, introduction, finally, to what you guys came here for. Mersey company, right? The company in the pre-seen material for the March 2026 SBL exam. Now, let's get into it. First off, the background of this company. Interesting background, I would say. It's a very real world thing. It's a magazine publisher, right? You guys may have read it. If you haven't, well, it's a good time to read. It's very relevant for you, right? So it is a magazine publisher, but caught in a time where, well, digital media is becoming more relevant than print media. Yeah. So what do companies like this do? Well, I've always wondered. Let's see if we can find an answer through the SBL exam. So background here, one of the 5 largest magazine publishers with 60 years of history. Yeah. Our company, right, has good, or as an established company, has good goodwill, sure. Yeah. Is quite well known. Yes, is one of the largest publishers in the, well, hypothetical setup. Then moving on from there, the target market, over 300 leisure-focused magazines in print and digital format. So they have a bunch of magazines, not a bunch. They have about 300 titles that they produce as magazines. Now, it's available in print format, which is what they were always good at. And there is the digital format also. This is so relevant to what is happening with publishers today. Yeah. Publishers need an online presence nowadays. Otherwise, yeah, well, they won't be around, or they probably aren't around only, right? Because if they hadn't moved online a long time ago, since everything is almost online nowadays, yeah, very important that you have something in the digital market too. Then, moving on from there, the region that we are talking about is a fictional country, Darland. Yeah, so all operations and sales concentrated within Darland, right? Yes. The position of the company, it's a listed company, 60 years of heritage, yes, with strong market presence. After all, it is one of the 5 largest magazine publishers. Yeah, in that particular country. Then the mission of a company, or the mission of this company. Now remember guys, whenever you do any SBL question, if the mission of the company is mentioned, which usually will be, right, that will tell you what the strategic objectives of the company are, what the company ultimately wants to achieve. Now the mission of the company, Mersey, yeah, is, well, to enhance readers' lives through engaging and expert information. Well, okay, being able to engage with their readers, that's their subscribers, yeah, through, well, proper information, just like any other magazine. Sure. Now, the values and codes they follow: sustainability, yeah, employee development, integrity, honest content, regulatory compliance. Yeah. So pretty straightforward, yes, values that they have. They want to sustain not just their profits, right? Generally, sustainability of, well, everything, not just profits, how environmentally friendly they are, all of these things. Yeah. Ultimately, they want to be a sustainable business. Employee development, that's pretty straightforward, being able to help their employees, yes, develop themselves, whether it's skills or whether it's, well, job job enrichment and things like that, right? The employees being able to take up more responsibilities because, well, they learn more. Yeah. And integrity, of course, integrity is being honest. So honest content, automatically, they're magazine publishers. They don't want to make fake reviews or things like that. They want to put out honest content. I respect that. Then regulatory compliance. So they want to be compliant with any kind of laws and statutory requirements. Moving on from there, let's talk a bit about the industry. Now, for the ones who have learned most of SBL, you guys would know whenever we talk anything strategy, first thing that we do is strategic position analysis. And then we think of the choices we have. Then there is the implementation of the strategy, right? So, as a part of strategic position analysis, you have to know what industry this business is from. So, Darlin Magazine market, $8 billion revenue. Okay, that's not a small market. Then, top five publishers hold 50% share. And the company that we are talking about, Mercer Company, is one of the top five, right? Now, print demand is declining, but still considerable. I think that's relevant for today's times also. Because when I go to a supermarket, I still see magazines on the rack. Sometimes I also pick them up, right? But do I actively have a subscription like back in the days for a bunch of magazines? Well, no, everything is online nowadays. Yeah. So print demand is declining, but it's still considerable. It's not dead yet. Yeah. Then digital publishing growing with multi-channel distribution. Absolutely. So digital publishing is growing faster than ever. Back in the days, it was blogs and stuff, right, on your computer. Now it's things that you can read on the go on your mobile phone. There are even audibles now, yeah, where you just listen to stuff when you're driving to work or when you're on your commute. So the way things are presented to people, mass communication is taking a turn. Even print media is affected. Yeah. So digital publishing growing with multiple channel distribution. Yeah, absolutely. Different channels of distribution. And this market has been growing quite fast. That industry consolidation through takeovers and acquisitions. Well, this is quite reminiscent of most big industries, right? You would see that there are takeovers where brands take over or businesses take over other businesses for certain positions, certain assets, or access to certain markets. Yeah. So takeovers and acquisitions are commonplace in this industry also. Now, moving on from there, the key trends that you see here, well, shift from print to digital consumption. Yes, as far as the audience are concerned, most people are switching, yes, from print media to digital consumption. And this is true. Once again, I used to have subscriptions for 3 newspapers. Now I don't even have one. Yeah, I read them all online, right? It's easier. Yeah. Then moving on, readers expect media and interactive content. Yeah, absolutely. We are kind of spoiled by this point. The same thing with people in Dartland. Yeah. So the readers expect multimedia content and interactive content. So it's not just about having news. It's like going on a YouTube video where I can comment. Yeah. That's what people expect. Now, moving on from there, advertising migrating to alternative digital platforms. That too, right? Because for this company, Mercer, yeah, with their print media, the magazines, the biggest or one of the biggest forms of their revenue is not selling magazines, it's advertisement revenue. Now, if advertisers are moving from traditional print media to alternative digital platforms, if Mercer company is not on these digital platforms, well, they're going to lose out. That's just how it is. So that's something to watch out for. Then, free online content increases competitive pressure. Another problem here, the content available online, right, is, yes, we all know about this. Yeah, if you've ever tried creating content, you would know that there is a lot of free content also available. So then why would people pay for, well, some paid content when they could just use the free content? Yeah. And this is so relevant for, well, magazines and such, right? So free online content increases competitive pressure. Absolutely. So you have to come up with something new or something interesting or something where people are willing to pay you for it. Yeah. Then search engine and social media algorithms influence visibility. Most definitely. Now, all of you at this point know what algorithms are. Social media algorithms are. Everybody is, yes, trying to gain some clout. Yeah. So search engine and social media algorithms definitely influence visibility. Whether you're a big company like Mercer Company, yeah, big publisher, without so much of an online presence, I mean, they do, but they're trying to strengthen that. So then, yes, search engine visibility, social media algorithms, this would definitely be important. Yeah. Moving on, the business model that they have. How do they make money? Revenue stream comes from print sales, that is selling your magazines and such. Subscriptions, people who have subscribed on a monthly basis. Yeah. Digital subscriptions, people who have subscribed to read, right, the digital versions of your magazine. Yeah. And advertising. Yes, of course, advertising revenue is a big part of print media or generally any kind of media for that matters. Yeah. Advertising is where the revenue comes from. If you become a YouTuber tomorrow, right, most of your income comes from advertisers or sponsors who want to put ads on your videos. Yeah. Now, moving on from there, heavy reliance on advertising tied to readership numbers. Yes, just like back in the days, how TV shows used to have all the good advertisements. Yeah. And this was based on TRP, right? The number of people viewing. I forgot what TRP stood for, but it was the basically the number of people viewing a particular program at a given time. Now, back in the days, we couldn't really judge this so well. Today, in today's world, yeah, you can make it out quite well how many people are actually following you or following what you're putting out. In this case, yeah, what is Mercy putting out online? How many people are reading it? How many people are subscribed? What about the print media? Even there are subscriptions. So depending on the readership numbers, depending on how many people are reading, right, the advertising, yeah, the amount of ads you can attract or the amount of advertisers the company can attract, yeah, and so get revenue from, well, depending on the number of people actually consuming this content. Yeah. Then mix of in-house and freelance authors for expertise and flexibility. Sounds like any other media house, any other print media house, right? So in-house and freelance authors, there are in-house authors, in-house editors, yeah, and then there will be freelance authors. This would be so that, well, there will be expertise. You can't always expect our in-house team to be experts on everything, yeah. So sometimes you may have to consult freelance authors, and this is also for flexibility, of course, yeah. Sounds good. Then digital platform enables analytics, multimedia, and monetization. Monetization. Yeah. What I was talking about earlier, analytics, the idea that you can see how many people are viewing your content, how much time people spent on your content, where in the world is your content being consumed the most, things like that. Well, analytics. And that's what digital platforms offer you. Traditional print media doesn't tell me how many people are looking at my magazine or how many people, yeah, scanned the QR code on my magazine, but digital media does tell you, right? So multimedia is another thing, right? You can have small videos or gifs or whatnot, sound effects, yeah, which, well, obviously normal print media cannot have. And being able to monetize things online is also quite interesting. Now, you may know a lot of YouTubers who are rich. Yes, how do they monetize these videos if all these videos are just free? Yeah, interesting, right? So exactly, yeah, with, I mean, not exactly the situation for Mercy, but something similar. Yeah, Mercy is also trying to understand, right, how this monetization can be done, and the digital platform is quite helpful for that. Now, this is their business model. Moving on from there, what is their strategic position? Well, starting with, it is a large established company, established publisher with brand recognition. So it's not some startup, it's not some company that has been around for a few years. It's been around for a while. Yeah. And it's got a broad portfolio across multiple leisure segments. So they have like 300 magazines, I believe, leisure-based, yeah, luxury-based, leisure-based magazines. So there you go. They have quite a broad portfolio. Yeah. Then strong digital presence. So they are not digitally behind. Yeah, when I talk about it, may sound like they're digitally behind. They're not. They're doing well, but legacy print exposure is there. Yeah. So the print exposure, that's the legacy they carry. Sure. Yeah. What they do is, yes, or what they used to do is print. Yeah. I mean, what they still do is print, but that is dying down. So there is a good risk that this may not last or be sustainable in the long run. Yeah. They may have to have a stronger digital presence. That's what we will come to right now. Moving on from that, competitive pressure from free online alternatives. We already talked about this. There is a lot of pressure. Yeah. From the free online alternatives that are available. See, the thing is, if you want to make content and you want people to pay you for that content, you have to be really good at this. Yeah, I'm not talking about just making YouTube videos. I'm talking about the publisher here. Yeah, very serious stuff, right? So if there are, yeah, free sources available, why would people pay for your paid subscription? Well, you have to give them a reason. So competitive pressure from free online alternatives, most definitely. Maybe you have to find a new revenue stream and not just subscriptions, yeah, or not rely entirely on subscriptions, right? Now, moving on from there, governance. Well, the governance in this company, how is the company's board structured? It's got a 12-member board. It's got a 50-50 split. That is 50% executive directors and 50% or half of the board is non-executive directors. Exactly how it should be, yeah, in terms of good corporate governance. Then independent non-executive chair, that's also very important. The chairperson has to be an independent non-executive director. Yeah, cannot be an executive director, cannot be somebody who is dependent on the business also. For example, you can have a non-executive director who's not completely independent, like a representative of the labor force, yeah, who could be a director, right? So then, yeah, you need an independent non-executive chair, and this company seems to have it. So that's a great thing. Then nomination committee is there, audit committee is there, remuneration committee is there, and there is an additional risk committee also. Now, generally, risk committee's job is not, I wouldn't say it's done by the audit committee, but a big part of what the audit committee does is a big part of what the risk committee also does. But here they have a separate risk committee, an additional risk committee, and that's a great sign of good corporate governance. So they would generally maintain a risk register where all the risks are recorded and such. Yeah. Now, moving on from there, it is fully compliant with Darlin's governance code. Now, one of the values that they had, or one of the things that they wanted to follow strategically, yeah, remember the mission statement they had made? From the mission statement, we had derived that certain values that they follow. One of the values was being compliant, yeah, regulatory compliance being at the top of that. And they seem to be doing that, at least from the governance front. Now, moving on, ownership and stakeholders. So how is this company's ownership structured? Well, 60% are institutional investors, institutional shareholders, which means other institutions, financial institutions. Yeah, think SoftBank, right? I hope you guys know SoftBank, yeah, or Y Combinator. There are so many of them. Then 30% are held, or 30% of the shares are held by the directors, yeah, and 10% is, of course, other shareholders. Now, wide stakeholder network, including regulators, advertisers, readers. Absolutely. When we say stakeholders, we're not just talking about shareholders anymore. We're talking about anybody with a business with an interest in the business. Yeah. So the main ones, of course, would include regulators, people who make the law, the government, yeah, the legal bodies in Darland, of course. Then advertisers, yeah, and the readers. Advertisers are generally people who pay us to put ads on our magazine. In this case, by us, we mean Mercy. Yeah. And yeah, and of course, the readers, yeah, the people who consume your content. Right. Now, heavy dependence on freelance talent and suppliers. Now, this could be a good thing and a bad thing, right? In a way, yes, it could be promoting flexibility, it could be promoting expertise, all of that. But at the same time, sustainability is a question. So, heavy dependence, yeah, on freelance talent and suppliers. Then, well, subject to oversight by magazine regulator, the NMSA. There are regulators like this for, yes, the print media, not just print media, even TV media, right, or visual media. For any form of mass media, there are, well, some form of regulation, and there are regulators in place, right, like the censor board or something like that. Now, here, anyway, subject to oversight by the magazine regulator, NMSA. So, this is what happens in Darland. Yeah. Now, moving on from there, let's talk about ethics and CSR. So, where does the company stand ethically? Yeah. Commitment to trustworthy content and anti misinformation stance. Well, of course. So, they're committed to giving you good content, yeah, honest content, and anti misinformation. They don't want to spread the wrong news, which I believe all media companies should take into account. Then, moving on from there, focus on employee well-being and diversity. Yeah. So focusing on, well, the happiness of your employees. If your employees are happy, happy employees, happy company, right? Or company that does well. Yeah. So focus on employee well-being and diversity. Diversity in the sense, well, different people from different walks of life, different cultures. So not just focused on one culture or one geographical area. Well, modern companies anyway, yeah, focus on these things because they want to be at the top of this, right? This makes them better corporate citizens, if you think of it. There. Moving on from there, the third point here, active stakeholder engagement philosophy. So they want to engage their stakeholders actively. So if somebody has a problem, right, they want to engage with them and figure out what the problem is and be able to fix that. Or if you have stakeholders who are just interested in whatever you're doing, whatever Mercy is doing, they want to be, yeah, actively involved with them, right? So actively engage with them, give everybody something. Yeah. So active stakeholder engagement philosophy, which is good, right? Nothing wrong about it. Then what about the risk profile of this company? Well, first off, there is always content quality risk. Content, yeah. Content quality risk here, right, is that if the quality of your content is not good, because at the end of the day, we are talking about a publisher, print and media publisher, right? So if the content is not good, that's going to be reputational damage. And reputational damage is not just a bad name. It's going to lead to revenue damage. And that's not going to be good. Yeah. Then legal risks may also be there. What if, yeah, the magazine is accidentally defaming somebody? Yeah, defamation. Or what if one of the writers, yeah, maybe the freelance authors, copied something from somewhere and this got published. Now, this was information from, well, somebody else's, yes, documents or IP, intellectual property. Plagiarism is a real problem. Then there may also be regulatory fines depending on, yeah, well, breaking or I wouldn't say breaking the law, but yeah, there may be regulations, and if you don't fall through or follow through with it, yeah, you will have to pay penalties. Yeah. Then cybersecurity and data protection exposure, quite relevant. It is relevant for almost every other business today, not just a print and magazine digital publisher, but most definitely for a digital publisher also. You may have heard of your favorite YouTubers, YouTube page getting hacked. What is that? Lack of cybersecurity. So imagine you're a big company now. Yeah, you're a publishing company, right? Media publishing company, and your website or your database gets hacked. That's not good at all. Yeah. So cybersecurity and data protection, there is some exposure to this. There is some risk that needs to be taken into account. Then platform dependency and supplier disruption. Yes, being dependent on a platform, a certain kind of a platform, and supplier disruption also. If you don't have enough suppliers, right, that could be a problem. Where will we get our information from? What will we do? Yeah, can be questionable. Then economic downturn affecting discretionary spending. See, the magazines here are leisure magazines, leisure, travel, luxury sort of magazines. The problem is, in an economic downturn, these things are not spent on. Yeah. Discretionary spends are usually spends that you do for your wants, not for your needs. So when I spend on something luxurious, that's a discretionary spend. Now, businesses also have discretionary spend, of course. Yeah. But we are talking about the customers or the readers and their discretionary spends. Now, in times of being broke, I wouldn't spend my money on a magazine subscription. Why would I do that? Yeah. Similarly, then, if the economy is broke or the economy is going down, this would affect discretionary spending. So businesses like Mercy may face the brunt of that. Then, moving on from there, the operational structure that Mercy follows. Yeah. There are 8 divisions aligned to the subject areas. Yeah. So hybrid working model for authors and staff. I had a quick look through the subject areas. There were different subjects that they have these magazines about. So there are 8 divisions for that. And they have a hybrid working model. So some people, or you may have to go to work in between. You can work from home in between. That's what's going on for the authors and the staff. Yeah. Then in-house printing, unusual versus competitors outsourcing, right? So anything that is unusual may be right printed in-house versus competitors are outsourcing. So what may be better? Should we be doing in-house printing, which is what we are doing? But should we be outsourcing more, maybe to cover more area, especially with physical print media? Things to think of, right? We need more information to comment on those things, but something to watch out for. Then central distribution hub for efficiency. Yes, having a central distribution hub, or they actually already have a central distribution hub. Anything that is central generally helps efficiency because everything is managed at a central point. Now, it helps efficiency, but it may lack localization, or it may lack quick decision making. Why? Because all the decisions are made in the center. It may not be very ideal or very related to what is happening at the ground level. So that could be a problem. Again, more information required. As far as we are concerned, this is helping efficiency in Mercy. Moving on from there, in the last section, you're given some financial and non-financial information. So financial performance analysis from 2021 to 2025. This is, revenue is going up, but it is kind of flattening at the end. If you guys notice, right, there is a bit of a flattening part at the end. This could be because, print media is stagnating. So that could be the reason, right? So growth is flattening, or growth flattens in 2025, assuming X is 2. So 2025, which could be true, because I feel if you compare these to the real world years also, right, during that 2020 to 2022 period, right, when COVID was going on, everybody loved reading a book and looking through a magazine, whatnot. Or you could also say that more people got online, and then things went completely digital from there. And then, it was obviously going to happen at any point, but now you have more digital readers than, say, physical print media consumers, right? So same thing seems to be happening in Darklit. Now, moving on from there, financial performance analysis, revenue from publications. The money that this company Mercy is making from its publications is actually going down. So that's not a good thing. Again, we may need more reasons to understand what is this decline, or why is this decline happening. So publication revenue is on decline. Moving on from there, the operating profit seems to be in a sharper decline. That doesn't look so great. Profit is falling. Not a good time for the company. moving on from there, print-based edition sales volume. Yeah. Well, for your print-based magazines, what or how are their sales volume? This is relevant because at the end of the day, this is a traditional print media company which also has an online presence. So from a close to 4 million, yeah, it has come down to, well, just about 3.2 million. There is quite a big drop, not a 25% drop, but almost 20%. So that could be a problem. Yeah, most definitely, right? If you see 20% drop of your business volume in the last 5 years, that means either you're doing very bad or your market is dying. And in this case, I think the market is dying because, hey, we're talking about magazines in the physical form. Yeah. Now, moving on from there, guys, yes, decline of print-based editions, what we just talked about. Now, a summary and conclusion about this company. Yeah. In the meanwhile, right, if I didn't already mention this, please feel free to, blow up the chat with any of your questions, right, any of your concerns. And yeah, you can always, yes, please feel free. Right. Now, coming back here, summary and conclusion. Remember, major publisher, but in a declining print market. This is the problem here. We can't decipher questions, or we can't say this is the kind of question that would come up. Don't do that. Do not try question spotting by looking at the pre-seen material. Of course, we will give you some suggested areas or suggested models that may come up. But remember, the SBL pre-seen is only about setting up stage, yeah, for your further questions that come up with the exam question paper or come up in the exam question paper. It is not something that would suggest that, hey, I only have to study this area or I only have to study that area. Please don't do that. Please have a broad understanding of what SBL is. Please know all the models that would be involved. Now, as part of your study for the next week and a half, right, you can definitely think of the different models that may apply here. But what I'm saying is, don't get tunnel vision. Yeah, do not just focus on the pre-seen material. Yes, it is important. Please do read through it. Give it a read twice at least. Yeah, but do not think that only the information or only questions related to what is there in the pre-seen could come up. There could be additional information that could be given in your question. I mean, there will be additional information that is given in your question paper, and you can expect questions, well, that you did not expect. So keep an open mind, know everything about SBL. Remember, it's an exam, it's a professional exam, so you have to know certain things. Yeah. Now, anyway, coming back to where we were, summary and conclusion. Major publisher in declining print market. So the market's dying, but hey, they're a big player in that market. Then digital shift is critical for survival. Yes, happened to a lot of companies. I'm sure some of you may know Blockbuster, right? That is a good story is Blockbuster versus Netflix, right? Blockbuster once had the option to buy Netflix. They thought, hey, this company would never take off. Today, Netflix is around. Blockbuster is no longer around. Similarly, Nokia and any of the Android companies like Samsung, yeah, or even Apple for that matters, these companies are still around. Nokia is also still around, but it died because it did not make the shift. Yeah. Reminds me of something known as strategic flux. Some of you may know what I'm talking about, right? Strategic drift. Yeah. So strategic drift, right? Whatever you call it. The idea is that your business is moving away from how the market is moving. So if you don't shift soon enough, what happens would be imminent death. Yeah. And that could happen to this company also. Digital shift is critical for survival. Then moving on from that, revenue growth is slowing in 2025. We already saw that on the graphs. So that's something to keep in mind. Strong governance and ethical positioning, though. The company as such seems to be well off governance-wise. Yeah. And well off position-wise. Market position is still good. Yes, it is a dying market, but it has name and fame. Yeah. And good name and fame, not notoriety. Right. Then, facing structural industry disruption. Yes, industry is changing. Yeah, the way things are being done is changing quite a bit. And that's the biggest problem that they're facing. So if they don't change in time, well, they may be disrupted. Right. Now, moving on from there, we do have a pre-seen kit, guys. If you liked this short intro or short walkthrough through the pre-seen material, we have a lot more stuff. Yeah. We have a pre-seen kit where we have applied more than 50 models and theories to this pre-seen company, Merce. Yeah. So if you're writing the SBL exam this time, if you would like to purchase the kit, that's the email ID, education@learnsignal.com. Yeah. Feel free to reach out to us, right? And yeah, and secure your kit. So do well for your SBL exams, right, with the kit. Yeah. Now, please feel free. We would have the question and answer section now, right? So if you guys have any questions, please feel free. Yeah. And my name is Arvind Suryadev. If you guys didn't catch that at the beginning, right, you can scan this QR code. Once again, I think my video dialog box is, well, kind of blocking that. I can't change my video dialog box to any other side. unfortunately. So yes, the QR code is there, but you guys know the email ID. I'll bring it back up once again so that yeah, you guys can take it down. Right, education@learnsignal.com. Feel free to reach out, yeah, for well, the pre-scene kit, and yeah, and the pre-scene kit is quite resourceful. I was having a read through it, quite useful indeed. Yeah. Now, any questions, guys? Please feel free. Yeah, if there are no questions, I guess we can wrap up here. So before I wrap up, let me give you guys, yeah, well, some more information, effectively just to sum up, yeah, of what I was talking about. Remember, pre-scene material helps you build the stage for the exam questions, or that's what it's supposed to do. It helps build the premises for the exam questions. It talks about the industry, about the company, and all those generic information, all that generic information you would need. And that's exactly what we just went through, right? But do not think that that's the only information that would be relevant to you in the SBL exam. Do not try to simply put models or only learn a few models because you feel that, hey, I feel that only strategic flux would come up or strategic drift would come up. Let me just learn that. Don't do that. Of course, learn the models. Of course, try to relate models to a situation, but do not make it about question spotting or sectional learning. Don't do that. Yeah, at least don't use the pre-scene material to do that, right? So please keep that in mind, right? Give a read of your pre-scene material. Yeah, I hope this analysis helped you all, right? This walkthrough rather than an analysis, I would say. At the end of the day, yeah, make sure you do your own analysis. Make sure you do make your own notes for each section as mentioned at the beginning. Other than that, best of luck for your exams, right? Exams are coming in what, another 12 days? Yeah, no, not 12 days. Sorry, we're in February, right? So another 10 days, and I think SBL is the second exam, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So anyway, best of luck for you guys. I mean, best of luck to you guys. Yeah. Break a leg. Hope this helped. Yeah. Once again, thank you. And my name is Arvind Suryadev. Yeah. So thank you from, yeah, me and from Learn Signal, right? So bye, guys. See you soon.